Okay, welcome back, everybody. Today, I am bringing you Michaela Foulkes, who is an internationally respected fat loss and fitness coach. Since 1999, she has had extensive backgrounds in massage therapy, kettlebell instruction, cellular nutrition, intermittent fasting, slightly extended fasting, which she can talk more about, and in pain management and prevention. Through her programs, her coaching, her speaking, her writing, and her ebook called Power and Pain, Michaela helps women and men over 40 lose weight easily when they've thought it impossible or create robust health when they thought feeling old was inevitable. So, welcome, Michaela, to the Automated Coach podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Denise.
Oh, definitely. Why don't you tell
Mhm.
us a little bit more about what you do and who you serve?
Sure. So, in truth, I guess I've had kind of silos of time and experience and with it expertise. My main focus is helping women over 40 lose 8 to 15 pounds in a month by going through a mitochondrial reconstruction. And what that means is the energy producing unit of our cell, our mitochondria, have the ability to both burn sugar and or fat. Most of us aren't very good at burning fat. And so we go through a process which just makes that a natural fuel source for the body to be turning to. The truth is, what's amazing about it is that it is kind of like one stop shopping. So it brings a lot of my other disciplines under the same umbrella of fat burning because it is a source of preventative health. It helps reduce inflammation in the body. It helps slow aging, but it helps with our cellular health that we bring into it. Our cellular nutrition helps with premature aging, just like black and white.
Mhm.
Then there's an element of exercise. And so it has become the umbrella that actually, in some respects, all my disciplines fall under.
And how did you get started with this?
How I began was from my own struggles with emotional eating. And so I was the person that, because I used food to cope, I was always trying to offset it with the next diet, the best way to exercise. So I was constantly on the hunt for what's going to help me not look like shit while I'm feeling like shit.
Right.
And essentially, I just tried everything. And I feel like I'm heartfelt, but also logic based and results focused. Like for me, like I want what I want. And I believe that we can have it if someone else does. So I just kept looking. And essentially, I just stumbled upon the question, are you burning sugar or are you burning fat? And one of my late night scrolls through the internet trying to find
Uh-huh.
something, and I started learning about fat burning and got myself into this mode. And it was just such a radically different existence. So my humble beginnings are because of my own struggles, not because this was such a great thing to do for the body. I just found that it was more forgiving. And essentially, my emotional eating binges and episodes corresponded to carb feasts, which are really useful for hormone recalibration. And so I found that this way of eating and living just held a lot more grace. And then it just made weight loss easier and it was sustainable, like for a lifestyle that was useful for anyone, whether they were emotionally eating or not, and also useful for anyone to have success, whether they were emotionally eating or not.
I think so many people can relate to that idea of knowing that there obviously has to be something out there that works because it's something has worked for other people, and then just going out and trying things and trying things and trying things and trying things until you find the one that actually works for you. And I wonder we can take that same idea and apply it to so many other things in life that if you see somebody out there that's successful, they got there somehow. So maybe the things you've been trying have not worked and you need to keep trying until you find the thing that does. Fortunately, in this case, in terms of overall health, you've already done all that hard work. So people can just come to you for the shortcut of how to learn how to do things the right way. A lot of our listeners are newer in the field of coaching and perhaps are facing challenges or some other struggles. Can you share one of your struggles in your business and how you overcame it?
I think I'm probably in the process of overcoming it, but I think one thing I've had a hard time with is not just differentiating, but really making it clear why how this is so different, why what I do is so different. And not that it's because it's Michaela's flavor on things, it's that the body now operates so differently. And so I think that how I'm trying to approach that is by sharing the radical reality, which is the stuff that just kind of flies in the face of course, weight loss has to go this way. Of course, it's going to be hard. Of course, you're going to feel hungry. Of course, you have to meal prep and count calories. Like, of course, you have to do this stuff. So now it's like, oh, right. What we do isn't that. So I'm just deliberately making a point to be more vocal, visible about the stark differences. And so I think that really challenging people's assumptions about a certain industry, about a certain process, about how to create the change they really want. I feel like so many people think that they understand weight loss. And in some respects, they understand it to an extent, but it could be radically different. And so that's the stuff where I feel like I have to really be very adamant and explicit about how different it can be. And I will also say testimonials are so useful. People want to hear from other people more than they want to hear from me about what I do. They'd rather hear from a client. So I've been deliberately trying to speak to certain objections, speak to certain assumptions, to not tone it down, and then also to use client interviews. So to use Zoom calls that are recorded and to have people share their experience. I had this, I never thought this. Oh my God, now. And I think that stuff is just beyond compelling. So those have been two things that have really helped me.
And I think just as my own little testimonial for you, I will let the audience know I had a consultation with Michaela. And to be totally honest, I went into it like, okay, whatever. She's going to say blah, 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 because I've already been through a million different weight loss programs, yo yo dieting, blah, 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 all the things, counting points, counting calories, blah, 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 blah. So I went into it kind of with a little chip on my shoulder, but I came out of it with very, very clear ideas on her unique point of view. I really appreciated that about you. I walked away feeling like, wow, I did actually learn something in this consultation that I can implement immediately. And we were sharing before we started recording that I've already started implementing some of the things that she shared with me in just that 1 hour call. So I'll share that little testimonial right there is that she does do a great job of explaining how her particular approach is very different from everybody out there that's claiming to do the same thing. And how does that apply to all of us? How are you, the listener, how are you setting your business apart from other people who on the surface may look like they're doing the exact same thing? So I'll just say congratulations to you on doing well at doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You talked about how you gather those testimonials, you use Zoom and so forth. What about the rest of your process? How do you collect leads on the front end, and how do you turn those leads into sales and so forth?
I sure it's like I'm really good at helping people to lose weight and keep it off kind of forever. This is new because however this sounds, I feel like because I've been doing this for a while and because I'm good at it, I feel like I get referrals. But now I want to take my business to another level. Now I'm seeing that I need more of a system. So, in truth, I will say the way that I've gotten leads has been referrals, social media, but there's always some connection.
Mhm.
I have never done ads. I wish to do them in the future, but there's always been some connection or even in person. In person is really powerful. Meeting someone, being at an event. But for me, I think because of what I do, because it's a good amount of time It's a decent investment. It's a serious decision. And so if people don't understand why this is different, then you just wouldn't do it. But I would say my process really is repetition. I make a lot of videos. I do give talks and presentations, and that is very powerful. So, for people to get a better sense of me, to understand that what we're talking about is physiology. This isn't because brand X has created a new product that is magical. So those have been the sources, referrals, a connection already online from afar. And then I would say in person, familiarity, proximity, and then having people hear my video, watch my videos, come to a presentation. I'm going to be doing more speaking for that very reason. I have some lead magnets. I think that those are useful too, but I think it's the, like, I heard your knowledge. I heard this. I never thought of it that way. But again, this is where I'm weak and where I could really stand to be strengthened.
Well, I will share that as you are continuing to work on growing your business, as you already said, testimonials are really going to help, testimonials and referrals. One of the things that you're going to want to do as you build up the automations in your business is have this point where after somebody has experienced the transformation, so after they've lost X amount or after they can now fit into that dress they wanted to fit into or they're feeling better, then you trigger something in your automation where it's immediately asking the person for a testimonial and or asking for a referral so that it just becomes part of the automation. We make sure that every success story is being captured and being asked
Mhm,
for a referral. And then on the front end, as you just said, if you're going to be doing a lot of speaking engagements, you want some way to capture people's information from the stage or on a podcast like this. You're going to
mhm,
want to be able to say, hey, if you want more information, here's where you can get my why burning fat's more important than burning sugar guide, whatever it might be. Here's where you can go to get that so that you're always bringing people in on the front end as well as pushing them to consultation. Building those types of automations into what you're doing is going to be really, really helpful for you to speed up this whole
smart.
process of growing.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. Like, to make that very clear cut.
And are you using any other automation in your business right now?
I have a free PDF, which we can talk about, which connects people to my a funnel that's connected to that. And then they are, I believe, as a result, subscribe to my emails. But I think people really have to deliberately say yes to this to subscribe. I have a quiz about, are you burning sugar? Are you burning fat? So I get emails, and then there's a progression to check out, learn to burn, like, why is fat burning different? The 5 parts of fat burning. And then that leads people to the potential for a coaching call.
That's exactly what you want is to be able to nurture and educate
Mhm,
people because that's the thing that separates you from some of the fad diet things that are not based in science, not based in physiology. So that's part of what is separating you, but it's going to require that education.
mhm, mhm,
Partially because, and I'm sharing this with you, but I mean for everybody, if you think about the price point of your offer, and I don't think we even talked about price. I'm just saying this to make clear. I'm not
mhm,
talking about her prices, your prices. I'm saying in general. Let's say that your main offer is a high ticket offer.
mhm.
If people are like, well, I can just get this so and so skinny tea I saw on TikTok, or I can sign up for this program, which is very expensive. Why wouldn't I just go get this cheap skinny tea?
Yep, yep,
And it takes education for people to see, oh, this is why I don't want to do that. And this is why her program is a much more sound investment in myself. And so those follow-up emails, the follow-up videos, having webinars, those are all ways that you can educate people on
mhm.
what sets you apart and how this is going to be a real transformation and not some temporary quick fix.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit more into
Mhm,
your specific area of expertise. I know that our listeners would love to know more about any part of this, fat versus sugar, anything that you want to share. Could you share some tips with us?
I think the bulk of the planet is burning sugar. We're made to burn sugar and fat. Simple single cell organisms only burn sugar, like amoebas only burn sugar, but more complex organisms like humans burn sugar and burn fat. We've developed to burn fat, but we've also evolved to burn fat for survival. So if we had to eat every 2 to 3 hours as a species, we would have died thousands of years ago. So I like for people to have that register. It's like, oh, yeah, right. Just because it's the nature of our time in terms of the fact that for most people and in our culture, most people have access to food essentially 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the predominant macronutrient that most of our food is made up of are carbohydrates.
Mhm.
So the nature of eating often and eating carbohydrates lends itself to burning sugar. So, the reason why it's better to burn fat, or at least to be able to, and so we can always burn sugar. We need to be able to use sugar for fuel for fast energy. So, this is fight or flight. I've got to defend myself, I've got to run away from the tiger. But fat is meant for slow, continuous, I'm moving around my day, I'm walking across the room. Like that is fat. And so ideally, how we're made to run is to use sugar when we need it in times of stress and to use fat the rest of the time. So most people are burning sugar, and how you would know it is characteristics being hungry frequently, having it be hard to go more than 3 to 4 hours without food, craving carbohydrates, whether that's starchy or sweet, having energetic crashes in the day, needing coffee in the morning, getting hangry when we get hungry, feeling weak, lightheaded, having all sorts of blood sugar stuff when we need to eat, having night sweats for some of us, mood irregularity. What else? There's more, but those are some big ones. So, an advantage for burning fat, if you were not doing that and you were burning fat, you would naturally be less hungry. You wouldn't have cravings. Doesn't mean that pizza or ice cream isn't still delicious, but you're not beholden to it anymore. Energy is abundant, even, stable, endless. No night sweats, no like mood craziness, better health, less inflammation, slowed aging. So, why it might be useful to consider burning fat is because it makes weight loss a hell of a lot easier
Mm.
in the sense that it's like we have access to the stuff that we want to reduce. That's suddenly what we're normally using. And it's so much easier to try to lose weight when you're not hungry all the time or when you're not struggling with cravings for the stuff that kind of got us here in the first place. And then plenty of energy. That's a big one that people tend to turn to. So those are some of the reasons why you might want to consider it. So some tips regarding shifting the body a bit. So burning sugar or burning fats on a spectrum. So a few things. You could be a raging sugar burner, and that would be like you are hungry all the time, like you are desperate for cookies or chips. You drink cola because your energy is like in your shoes all the time.
Mhm.
We're kind of like propped up on energy drinks and Coke and coffee. So our health tends to be poor, our weight tends to be higher, and we have a hard time losing it. We could be in that state. Or a very deep end of fat burning is ketosis. So, where we're eating very few carbohydrates, we're creating a ton of energy from our own body. But the thing that I want to say about that is this is like we're running off of fat, so we're not hungry at all. We don't have cravings, plenty of energy, better moods, better health. But the thing that I want to say about this is that you don't need to be in a state of ketosis to burn fat. My point in bringing up the spectrum is that some people that think about ketosis, which is not essential to lose weight, a ketogenic diet was created for children with epilepsy. So a ketogenic diet is
Okay.
quite therapeutic to the degree that it actually affects the brain, but you might not need that level of change in your body if weight loss is your objective. Even if health is your objective, you do not need to be in a ketogenic state. The reason why I bring this up is because I think when a lot of people want to burn fat, a lot of people think I'm in a ketogenic state, or I'm kicked out of keto. I looked at a piece of chocolate and all is lost.
Yeah.
And the thing that I want to bring people back to earth with is the fact that this is a spectrum. This is not a switch. So it's a progression. So we start in one spot if we're looking to create change, and it takes some time. This is what I do with people. It takes some days to get ourselves in a fat burning state, and then it takes more time to get a certain percentage. It takes time to make new machinery and then to double down on this process to get better at it. But wherever you are, especially if you've gotten yourself more solidly placed in a fat burning mode, because you like eat 2 bites of cake, once you've been established, you're fine. And so I think that that's a useful reframe, that it is not as tenuous as a lot of people make it out to be if ketosis is the thing that they are focused on. A, it doesn't need to be that deep. B, if they ate a piece of chocolate, they would simply have less ketones in their blood for a period of time, but it doesn't mean that their state is radically different in a more permanent way, in a longer way. And then you can move at any point, forward or backwards.
Mhm.
And based on how long you've been doing something, the more stable you will be. One thing I love about this state of being in a fat burning mode is the longer you do it, the more wiggle room you have.
It's that piece about if you have a piece of chocolate, it's not gonna totally derail you, I think is very freeing, and not that it means, "Okay, so go eat a pan of brownies," but it takes away a lot of the guilt that comes with a lot of weight loss journeys, especially because it's like, "Oh my gosh, I had a Hershey's Kiss." I mean, we don't need to necessarily beat ourselves up about that because it does mean it's gonna slow down your process temporarily, but it's not gonna implode.
It's not going to implode. And the thing that I want to say, so two things. The people that I help, it's a very structured process, and we have carb feasts. So we use carbohydrates. We don't want to like stuff ourselves to the point of pain, but if you want to go to town on those brownies on your carb feast, that's actually useful for the hormone leptin. When people lose weight, when we reduce calories and we reduce carbohydrates, there's a certain hormone called leptin that lowers. And so essentially, leptin is very consequential for weight loss. Generally, the more weight we have on our frame, the more food we're eating, the more carbohydrates we're consuming, our leptin levels are higher. So, this is why, if we're coming from that place and we reduce calories, reduce carbohydrates, we tend to lose weight quickly. And then what ends up happening is our weight loss slows and potentially stalls.
Mhm.
And so what people will do is they'll just double down on this lower calorie, lower carbohydrate existence. But the deal is why they're not shifting, it's because of leptin. So when you use carbs strategically, you get to have your cake and eat it too. You get to have this reset of leptin in a way that's like you just ate the stuff that most people would think, oh, of course I can't have brownies. And it's like, well, you can't have them each and every day at a large amount. But actually, if you have them strategically, you never plateau because the body gets that bump up in leptin and feels, okay, like we can keep letting go of weight. So to your point, all is never lost. And I think that that's something I will say I hear from fat burners a lot about a lack of guilt
Mhm.
because I preach the like drops in the bucket. You know what I mean? It's like you made decision A over B today, not ideal, shouldn't have done that. It's okay. And then they have these regular indulgences. So it's like, a girlfriend, amazing fat burner, she's like, so if I want a house of chicken parm, it's just like a Tuesday. It's not a big deal. And then it's not a big deal just to get right back on track the next day. And I think that's a really consequential thing, Denise, that you're bringing up, because I think a lot of people They have the chocolate. They think, I just screwed this up. I should just keep going. And in both respects, wherever you are, it's really not that big a deal. Or if you're using carb fees strategically, it's like, great, thank you so much. And now I'll just get back to business. So the nature, if what got us here was eating often and eating carbohydrates predominantly, things that can help us turn the tide is eating less often and reducing our carbohydrates a little.
Mhm.
So it's better, and I know we talked about this, it's better to not snack, and if you really want the chips or the cookies or whatever it is, have them with your meal. So you could literally eat the same amount of food, but relegate it to 3 times versus 5 times, 7 times, however many times during the day, and you would help yourself move closer to a fat burning mode. And so the reason why it's like, well, it's the same amount of calories. Maybe it's even the same configuration of macronutrients. Maybe you're eating the same amount of carbohydrates. The reason why it's advantageous is because of insulin. So every time we eat, our body releases insulin. So whether we're eating carrot stick or a chicken breast, if we only eat fat, which no one ever does, no one's generally eating butter or oil or heavy cream alone. Most people aren't doing that. That fat alone doesn't raise blood sugar. And when we don't raise blood sugar, insulin is not released. But when our blood sugar is raises from eating anything, cabbage, pizza, whatever, insulin comes along to help move that fuel, to move that glucose to either keep it in the bloodstream, put it in our muscle cells, put it in our liver, store it as fat, but it needs to do something with it. So the reason why we want to keep insulin both low in general and out of our system more often than not is because the less we are asking our body to release insulin, the more insulin sensitive our body will be. And what that means is every time we eat, we actually don't store as much of our food as fat as we could.
Okay.
So the more insulin resistant we become, eating often, eating more carbohydrates, we store more of our fuel, more of our food as fat. So just reducing the number of times you're eating will help create a more insulin sensitive body. And why that's useful to have insulin out of our system more of the time. We've got hours between meals. We're not snacking in those windows. When insulin is in our system, we cannot use our body fat for energy. So insulin by nature blocks us from being able to use that stored fat as fuel. So when we eat less often, we both enable ourselves to have the possibility of using our body fat more easily, which is why it's there. And we also get better at using our food as fuel and storing less of it as fat. And then, even if it's just one of those meals, for lunch, I'm going to do the freaking traditional diet shit. I'm going to do the grilled chicken on a salad business. I'm going to do that for lunch. By reducing your carbohydrates, essentially your body has to use something else. And so protein turns into glucose as well,
Mhm.
or it's used for material in our body, flesh, hormones. But sugar is easy. Carbohydrates are easy. They're quickly broken down, faster energy. But if we don't give it to ourselves, and even if we're sandwiching that meal, there's more carbohydrates in our breakfast, maybe. Maybe we're doing this for lunch or breakfast, however you want to configure this.
Mhm.
Then basically you're just helping to turn your body towards using fat more because you're not giving it this quick fuel.
Okay.
So maybe that's a better move. Maybe you have less carbohydrates right in the start of your day. Most people tend to want more carbohydrates later in the day.
Mhm.
And so we tend to have slightly weaker resolve later in the day. So it might be better to have a lower carbohydrate breakfast, maybe more protein, fat there, and then have more of your carbohydrates for lunch and dinner if this 3 meal a day idea sounds good. Final thing, and I think this is really clear cut. We talked about the fact that fat burning or sugar burning is on a spectrum. The fastest way to get out of a fat burning mode is not with food, it's actually with exercise. So,
Wait, say that again? The fastest way to get out of fat burning?
is with exercise.
Okay.
I would say stress
Hmm.
and exercise. So, stress will mess us up, period. Stress puts us into this fight or flight. Stress will raise blood sugar. Stress will raise cortisol, raises blood sugar. It's for energy. I'm going to make this really concise. When you're stressed, it's the nature of that hormone is to give you energy. So I will say this, if you're concerned about belly fat and you're stressed a lot, move your body. When you feel a pop of stress, do something crazy. Pump your arms, do jumping jacks, do squats, run up the stairs, move, because that release of cortisol is their fight or to flee.
Okay.
So- And so if you don't want to extra energy as fat, use it. So that's one little thing, kind of unrelated to fat burning. It's like a how do we get rid of belly fat with stress in our life?
Right.
But the fastest way to get out of a fat burning mode is with intense exercise. And it's that fight or flight business. So the best way to help yourself either move steadily towards a fat burning mode or to to do lower intensity stuff and or this is more like fat burner, like a little more precise stuff,
Mhm.
and or some intense stuff with more rest. So walking, for example, lowers steady state viably pulse from fat. So high intensity stuff, often when people want to lose weight, it's like, let me just, kill myself at the gym. Let me just like hit
Right.
it hard and go as many times as I can. And that tends to put people back into a sugar burning mode because it asks for fuel quickly.
Mhm.
And if they're not established or if they don't kind of understand how to adjust based on where they want their body to stay, it's really easy to go towards a sugar burning mode. So when in doubt, walk.
Mhm.
When in doubt, don't do more intense stuff. And if you are doing intense stuff, love weightlifting, love high intensity, but make sure to rest more.
This is what I was talking about. I was saying that I walked out of the consultation with her like, I've never heard this stuff before. This is exactly the kind of information that I was talking about. I appreciate you sharing so much of that. Reminded of the term biohacking. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
say bio anymore, but just this idea of using what is naturally occurring in
Yeah.
your body and understanding your body well enough, what changes what's naturally occurring in in your body.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's such a great way to kind of sum thinking is. And so one goal that I have in general, and that started with massage therapy, which is just like, and that's where pain, understanding more about pain
Mhm.
came from. But I really wish for more people just to understand kind of around practical things because then you can have more of what you want and you're less in a state of kind of feeling like I might have even said this in our consultation, like you're just kind of living in this like mass of like flesh and fluid that feels like a mystery, you know,
Right.
a little more understanding. And then it's like we can understand how to levers. And that's really my goal for the people that I work with and hopefully for the world someday.
Yeah. You shared so many great tips. I want to make sure, and you gave us a lot of action steps already, but we here at the Automated Coach
Mhm.
podcast really focus on being action takers. So what is one, if you could pick just one thing to be one action that our listeners should take, what would you recommend?
So one action, I'm going to say leverage your strengths first, whether being diligent with food is your thing or whether exercise is super easy. So I'm going to say focus on one,
Mhm.
not on both. And then within those two things, I'm going to say whatever is easy. So is it easier for you to be most conscious for your first meal? Great. Make that higher in protein, higher in fat, smaller or bigger if it's easier to have a smaller meal at night.
Mhm.
But leverage your strengths. And then I would say, know that consistency is king and something is better than nothing. Rome was not created in a day. And I say this to my fat burners when they feel wobbly about stuff. If it's like I'm not progressing as quickly, or I ask, I check, it's like, does this feel like, is this reasonable? A reasonable way to get what you desire? Do you believe that this works? Have you had some success? Yes. Are you dead yet? No. Do you believe that this is going to work? So we just keep going. And I think that leverage your strengths within those two tips. I would say those two camps.
Mhm.
Is it food? Is that easier for you? Are you someone that does exercise with regularity? Pick one. And then within that one, it's like, oh yeah, I can do this. This, I know this is a supportive meal. Start with what you know, do your best, and then consistency. And again, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what happens tonight. It matters what happens tomorrow. It
Mm,
mattered what happened earlier today. That would be what I would say.
fabulous. Tell us where we can find you online.
Oh, sure. Okay. So on social media, I'm under my name predominantly. So Michaela, which looks like Michael with an A at the end,
Mhm.
and my last name is Foulkes. This will be in the show notes.
Spell
But
it out for the people who are just listening.
oh, sure. So Michaela, Michaela, and then my last name is Foulkes, Foulkes. I'm on Facebook, be my friend. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I have a YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn, should you wish to connect with me there. And then my website is unboundfitfound.com. Unbound is the name of my business, and then essentially fit found, all one word.
Awesome. And again, we will obviously put those in the show notes as well. It has been such a
Oh,
pleasure.
thank
This has
you.
been so educational, and I loved everything about this. So thank you so much for joining us here on the Automated Coach podcast, and might need to have you back again at some point because you just
Love
shared such
it.
amazing stuff. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so very much.
You're so incredibly welcome. It has been a total honor and a treat. Thank you.